Because without the state creating the autonomous space for the citizens, the civil society really cannot actually be done.
Yes, thank you, Dr.
So
Deora.
if
Yes.
Dr. Deora would really tell us how we can rejuvenate civil society in a country where there is this very valuable space for human rights, absence of rule of law.
Thank you so much. I'm sure that we will come to a panelist. Let's take 2 or 3 questions together. Then yes.
Society for 11 years and now a political worker for 16 years. I don't have a very big question, but I have a submission and an appeal. You know the English phrase called endangered species. In societies like ours, a developing country, especially Bangladesh, the space for civil society is getting reduced day by day. Who on earth is going to save this civil society? And if they are not saved, how will the rest of the population be saved? The danger comes from political autocratism, political dictatorship. Now, is there any possibility of civil societies of similar countries cooperating with each other to promote this liberalism, to promote this freedom, so that they can together fight it out for the sake of the greater people? To introduce myself, I am Major General Ibrahim, a retired soldier, a freedom fighter of 1971, and now Chairman Bangladesh Kalyan Party. Thank you for giving me the floor and listening to my suggestion.
Thank you. Yes.
Heading a political party in Bangladesh, a new one. This party is called Noitik Samaj. Bangladesh সবাই বলবেন কিন্তু বিদেশিরা বলবেন না. Noitik means moral. Purpose is, as everybody talk about problems, how to bring about moral values and ethics into the political process. That is what Noitik Samaj is about. Now my comment, I fully agree with the commentators so far, including Dr. Deora.
Yes, if you can be very
Was it
specific in the
carried
question.
out?
Yes. Thank you.
I just less than 1 minute. We know about the situation in developing world. Now, civil society can only function effectively if there is a strong political society, meaning a developed political parties. A country where parties are weak, authoritarianism will grow. And now last point, one comment. We talk about civil society, but I think in peace building, peacemaking, there is a role of the military society as well. Nobody talks about it. We already have half a dozen military people here. I think we have a role to play, and I'll call upon the military people to think about organizing a military society, not only nationally but also globally.
Thank you so much. Yes, Dr. Riaz. Yes.
I teach at the United States University in the United States. Here are my questions and sort of comment. One, we're talking, and especially referring to what Dr. Deora has already mentioned. Let me add far more big picture that he has already pointed out. And having said that, my questions are twofold here. First of all, given the circumstances, are we expecting too much from CSO, the civil society organization? And should there be a distinction and historical context to it? While we're talking about civil society organization, and let me give it a very clear example. If we are talking about a civil society organization in Germany and vis-a-vis if we are talking about in India, in Bangladesh, where the legitimacy for which, to borrow Dr. Deora term, the legitimacy, the moral and electoral legitimacy is questionable. Can they play the same role? As a matter of fact, that's why my comment, these are my two questions basically. Can we just simply discuss historically and lack of context in understanding civil society and whether we are expecting too much? And devoid of these political circumstances, where the civil society has been vitiated by the authoritarian regime, thanks to Mr. Modi in case of India, thanks to Hasina in case of Bangladesh, thanks to others, for example, Mr. Erdogan in case of Turkey, civil society has been decimated because that is the pathway for autocratization. So having a conversation on this track too, vis-a-vis in the CSO, are we losing the fact, are we losing sight of the fact that CSO cannot be considered Without the history, without the context, without a system of governance, without the moral and legal and constitutional legitimacy of the state and particularly the government. Thank you.
Our experience is that when that political society is on the street fighting for democracy, they find the civil society as their friends. When that political society goes to power, they find those political civil society as their enemies or adversaries. So I think there is something to be learned by the political society, that they never remain in power for all time to come. They have to come down to the street one day or another, and then they will have to find new friendship with the civil society. That's my one point to you, sir. On the other point, I think if you look at the history, because of the rise of authoritarianism in many countries, what is becoming with one part of the civil society, they are also becoming nationalist civil society. I can name names, countries where they, in the inter-country relationship, they uphold more the so-called national perspective given by an authoritarian regime, instead of coming back on the values and falling back on the values and which shared across the board. This has also become a major problem for the civil society to play their roles in many ways. Colleagues, I think today it was track 2, but essentially we spoke about civil society, because track 2 also includes the private sector and also the communities along with that. My last point, taking on from Riaz, context matters, but definitely context matters. It matters how the level of institutions are there, how the regulatory frameworks are implemented, how the judiciary and the other oversight functions are really implemented, not being partisan, not being political. All these things all matter. So the question is, how do you get out of this in looking to the future? One of my colleagues yesterday night evening, was telling me this is the time to lie low. This is the time to lie low. Don't get over too high. You will be cut short in many ways in that way. So the issue is whether it is time to play an active role or to be to preserve your assets and wait for some other time on that. But we may not survive till that time. So what we do at this moment in that way, that's a very good question. I have a two Bengali words for that, particularly for the media, that this is the time to not so much to do promotion, but to do preservation. The issue is, এখন প্রবর্ধনের সময় না, আপনি অ্যাডভোকেসি করে আগিয়ে নিয়ে যাবেন এইটার সময় না। এখন হয়তো সময় নিজেকে রক্ষা করা, সুরক্ষা করা এবং আগামী দিনের অন্য কোনো অপরচুনিটির জন্য অপেক্ষা করা। This is the strategic approach which is there. Does it mean we don't do anything? No, at least we do 3 things. My first and foremost, my colleagues have suggested, go back to the people. Go downstream. If you don't want to be high, you go downstream, talk to the people, talk to the organization, talk to your constituency. This is number 1. Number 2, technology has opened up new opportunities. The social media and many others opportunities are there. Artificial intelligence has empowered us as well. We should know how to use the technology and we use it in the future. And the third, and that's why I am here today, to build the solidarity across the board with all the colleagues who are all around and who are possibly more experienced than us in many other ways. So build solidarity, build partnership, build friendship, and that's what will make us stick and come and face the future. Thank you very much.